everybody. Welcome to my watercolor channel, Laurel Artwork. I'm Laurel Hart, and today I want to do a little demonstration that I think will be kind of fun. I want to talk first a little bit about magic, specifically the magic of magic wands. Wouldn't you love to have a magic wand that could do anything you wanted it to? You could have it clean for you, you could have it cook and sew and do all your chores. I'd love that. Recently I visited Disneyland with some of my little grandkids, and they were fascinated with the magic that the three fairies' wands in Sleeping Beauty could create. This is a little video. That's my little granddaughter with her magic wand. I wish I had one like that. And then this was at Disneyland, where we watched the parade and saw the three cute fairies that have their magic wands going and can do all those fun things that they do with them. After that, we went to Universal Studios, where we visited the Harry Potter attraction. And again, there was a lot more magic wands. In fact, they were the center of attention. Lots of kids were casting magic spells with their wands, enjoying the magical powers of opening doors and causing things to levitate and whatnot. Well, as watercolorists, we actually have magic wands too, but they just happen to have bristles on the end. For me, my magic wands are the King Art Series 9020 Max Rounds. This is the Harry Potter wand, and it's quite a fancy wand. And in the Harry Potter world, we learn that although wands were unthinking objects, they did have a sense of loyalty towards their rightful owners. Furthermore, they had the ability to judge the person who held them and determine if that wizard was a compatible match. A wand choosing to work for a wizard was said to have given them its allegiance. I actually feel that about my brushes. I think brushes know when we're in control or not, and they perform better when we act as though we know what we're doing. Also, I read that we can better our odds of being chosen by a wand by wearing wizarding gear. So today I'm in a wizarding shirt, as you can see. Wands are only as powerful as the wizards who use them. From Mr. Ollivander, who is the wand maker in Harry Potter, we learn the best results always come where there is the strongest affinity between wizard and wand. Now, do you have an affinity for your brushes? If you don't, you do need to create it, and they will work better for you. Let's go back now to the magical powers of the wands in Sleeping Beauty. Here are some of the powers that their wands had, which I think parallel quite perfectly with what our paintbrushes can do when they're handled by an artist wizard. These are the powers that come in handy for us as artists when we're using our magic brushes. First of all, the magic wands of the three fairies had the ability to manipulate color, as demonstrated when the fairies were trying to make the dress for Sleeping Beauty. Remember how Flora and Merryweather got in a fight, and one wanted the dress to be blue and the other wanted it to be pink, and they were able to manipulate that color with their wands. We're also able to do that with our brushes. The fairies could also conjure things up. They were able to possess the ability to materialize imaginary objects at will. And we can do that too as artists. With our brushes, we're able to conjure up objects and make them look three-dimensional on a two-dimensional surface. The three fairies had the power to make things disappear or vanish. And we can do that with our brushes as well. We can take color out, and we can soften edges and make hard edges disappear. We have that same capability with our paintbrushes. The fairies' wands were also able to master photokinesis, which is the ability to create and manipulate light. And we know that with our brushes in watercolor, we can become masters of demonstrating or creating light in our subjects. So today, what I want to demonstrate is the technique of using your paintbrush as a magic wand. Now, I want you to make note of how a magic wand is held. It is held very lightly, like this, rather than like we would hold a paintbrush normally, like this. Again, it's held like this. In the exercise I'm going to demonstrate today, you're going to see that this way of holding the brush forces you to let the brush have more of its own way, allowing you to paint in a looser style. The touch is very light, almost dancing across the paper, allowing the color to stay on top of the paper and not be pressed down into the paper's fibers. This will help the color stay clean and more transparent. This technique is new to me, but I've been having lots of fun with it lately, and I picked it up from watching a really wonderful watercolor artist, Janet Rogers, who paints this way, and the effects she gets are nothing short of magic. I'm going to be using her palette in this demonstration, and I will list the colors in the description of the video. And as I mentioned before, the magic wands or brushes that I will be using today are the King Art Series 9020, and they are the Max Round brushes. And the reason that I like these is that they have really extra long points. And so it's really easy to lift things out with these bristles. I want to show you this artist, Janet Rogers, who paints in this method that I want to show you today. This is one of her floral paintings. And notice in this photo that I'm showing you here, the way that she is holding her brush. As I mentioned, it's more of a magic wand light hold. It's not taking your brush and holding it like this. It's going to be like this. And she can get the most wonderful effects with this method. This is one of her paintings that she has done here. And this is her showing some color swatches where she's using her brush, holding it in the way that I was talking about. And what she does is she just floats this color onto the page. And then as long as it's wet, she can float in any other colors, and they just mingle beautifully. And without pressing the paint into the paper, they stay very, very transparent. So in this technique that Janet Rogers uses, all of her paints are very transparent. And as I said, I will give you the names of the pigments that she uses. But that also is a great help to keeping the painting looking magical. She says she likes to find magic in her subjects as she goes. And she also uses a lot of paper towel to blot and to wipe the water off of her brushes so that she can lift different areas of the flowers. So I am going to try to demonstrate this, and as I said, it's pretty much of a new technique for me, so I may forget and start holding my paintbrush like I normally do, but I'm going to try to keep it like this, and you'll find that it really does let you have more leeway, or let the brush have more leeway in what it's doing, rather than this tight control like this. So I'm going to get my brush wet, and I'm going to start on this upper rose here. I'm painting on a slant, and I'm on 140-pound cold press Winsor Newton paper. So I'm going to start with the center of that flower, and it's pretty dark. You can see also that my paints here are very wet. I've got them very saturated, and so they're already very soft. And I'm going to pull out some of this paint to start with that's actually kind of a goopy paint to start. And I'm going to just put in this little area of the center of that rose. And then I'm going to rinse, wipe my brush, and begin to pull that color out and away. I want even less water on that so that I can get it even more lighter. And I can also vary, while this is wet, I can add in different colors here. To make this rose have more interest. Now, you can see how delicate this this color is as I'm working it down here. And now, using my magic wand to make things disappear, I'm taking all the water off, and I'm going to pull out some of these petals here. While that water is, while the paint is still quite wet. And because that's still wet, I can float in other little bit of other colors in here as well, where the shadow area is. I wanted that to be a little more purple. But it's very, very loose, very, very watery. And I want to try to maybe get a little bit more of the impression of those petals being out. Then the next thing I want to do is immediately come in with some of this greenery so that I'm not going to have hard edges back here. On that edge of the flowers. And that can bleed just a little bit into the rose as well. Maybe we'll put another leaf over in here. And then I can lose edges with this brush as well, and just kind of make this a little bit loose out there. I'm going to pick that up. I don't really want that green to drip into there. Now, while that rose is still, well, I'm going to put a little more A little more of the green down in here. And see how that's bleeding into that wet paint there. And leaving those soft edges. I like that. And maybe while we're over here, we'll pull in another little leaf in through here. And then while the rose is still a little bit wet over in there, I'm going to come back in with a little bit more, maybe not quite that red. I maybe want it a little bit more peachy. And I'm going to come in and put in a little bit of those darks. And maybe right down in here, under this petal here, it looks like that might be a little more in shadow. But it's not requiring a lot of detail to describe what's going on in those flowers. Let's see if I can pull out a vein here in that leaf. Maybe that one as well. Okay, now let's go into this cream colored flower down here, which is, I don't want too much of that dark green to come down in there. So I'm looking for what would be the right color for that rose, and it's got quite a bit of yellow in it. So I'm starting out with the darkest part of it. And then I want to really keep that light, so I'm just going to use a very, very, very watery color on this. And I don't know that that's not quite what I want. I want kind of a grayed down yellow. And even a little bit bluer than that. Okay. this is still too wet to really go back in there yet, so we can just wet that with our magic wand and dab that color back out. Okay, when that's a little bit more dry, I'll come back into that. Now back out over in here. I want to kind of put in a little bit of that purple color. And now maybe I can come back into the flower. Yes, that's a little bit better now. It's holding its shape a little better. I just kind of want a little hint of not that dark. Let's see if we can pull out a nice petal there. And one here. And we've got these really cute little bright berries. That color I just dipped into there is called Janet's, or no, sorry, it isn't Janet's. It is, that was, I think it's something rose, and I can't think of the name of it all of a sudden. I'm going to put these little berries in and then paint some leaves around them and take a little light out of the side of them. And they have a really bright little leaf around them. So I want to kind of get that in. This one should be a little bit more The color I was thinking of, it's permanent rose. And it's such a beautiful color. I really love it. Okay, now that's going to be a little more of a brighter green in there, where we've got these little leaves coming up in here. And then we can do, that's a little too, I don't know, a little too gray of a green. Put maybe a little bit of blue in there. See how loose you can be with this technique. I'm going to put another flower down in this area, even though there isn't really one there. I just feel like it needs a little bit, and maybe I'll do it. I think I'll do it a little bit on the pale peach side again. Get that center in there. A little darker, I think. So I'm going to just kind of wipe that back so I keep that flower really light. And it looks like there's more of that purple I don't know what that is, but I want to get a little bit of that in there. I think that's pretty. Okay, let's work on this one a little bit more. I'm actually kind of working on this flower over here, even though I've moved it. I think it's a little more green is what it is. Having a little hard time telling what those tones are in there. I've got the paper really wet there, so I maybe want to let that dry a little bit more. So I can take that out. Maybe I don't really want that all in there. Let that dry just a little bit. Let's see what I want to do with this flower over here. I think I'll come back up here for a minute and start on this other rose here. I may want just a little pinker. Bit of a pinker cast to that flower there. I get a little hasty and come in too soon sometimes on these flowers, and I should give it a little more time to dry. I'm going to take this smaller brush. See if I can get some of these petals lifted a little better. I've let it get a little bit too dry there. That might be a little too orange. And this shadow part in here is really pretty purple over in here. Sometimes your paper towel is as good a magic wand as your brush. That's doing more what I wanted it to do. And now I'd like to still keep something a little stronger right in the middle there. Before this gets too far away from me, I probably want to, I don't like that green really. When you have a petal that's that light, you pretty much need to place a dark around it to let it show. Um, but then if you want to soften the edge, you can just kind of take your brush and give that color a little bit of wetness to bleed back into. And I'm still going to punch that just a little. There's still places in there where so far I've still been holding my brush as I'm trying to learn how. And it is really fun on these florals to have that light touch. Okay, this flower is not really doing too much for me, so I'm going to come back in over here. And try to establish a center of this flower. That might be a little strong for that. That's maybe more of the shadow color that I was searching for. Okay. So I think that looks okay over there. What am I doing here? I'm not sure. Okay. And I don't want to do too much in here in delineating those little blossomy things. I don't know what that plant is, but I want it to read a little bit like it's got that texture in it. Probably should have left that, but okay, we've got more of those really cute little berries up here. And I want them a little redder than that. Those look a little square, but I'll come back and paint behind and they'll look better. Okay, and then they are going to get those really bright little leaves again around them. That seem really cheerful. And I like the kind of the repetition of this purple. You know, it looks like almost this has created itself into a little rosebud right there. So I think I'm going to do that. Make that into a little tiny rosebud. It just kind of seemed like that created itself right there. And that's one of the other, I don't know, little tricks of a magic wand to brush. I'm at this stage now where I'm kind of putting in my darkest darks to set things off. That looks kind of harsh right there. I don't know. And maybe I'll pull out a few stems here. It seems like that rose would have a stem holding it up there. I'd also like to take that green out, where that's bled to there where I really didn't want it to. Oh, just a little more pink over that. I don't want to really enclose this whole rose with hard edges. I want to maybe connect over here with this green color. All right. On some of these leaves, over here where I took the negative space out of the leaf, over here you could put the veins in at positive, and that just gives kind of a nice variety. Still want to define this flower over here just a little bit more. And whatever color I just dredged up there, remember our wands can make and change color. Kind of like that flower. And it kind of seems like there would be one more layer of petals right there. I don't want to overwork it too much, and that's kind of easy to do sometimes, so best get out of that flower. And this one might also need just a little definition here. I want to keep that very soft. And you can see I'm just kind of using a lot of mixtures that I've already used. And it kind of adds a unity to the whole thing, I think. Okay, I want to come in with some pretty dark darks now, just to but this is another time that you can overdo, so I don't want to start having all these hard edges where I've lose what I've tried to keep in the looseness so far. And every so often it seems like you need to warm up the foliage here and there. Or it gets a little too monotonous. Let's just see if maybe another little layer of the purple here to give that a little more dimensional quality to it. Sometimes the second layer gets too busy. But I think that's probably okay. And maybe I am going to give this a little bit of a push forward here. I still feel like this flower is maybe needing a little help. And I'm going to start into mud here if I keep going with this. Not sure if that added much or took away there. Seems like I need a little bit of dark in here. That flower feels a little bit unfinished, maybe. I'm afraid that's going to be too dark when I put it down. For some reason, I feel like that white is a little too much there. I'm going to kill that just a little. And I actually think that helped a little. Well, I'm nearing completion here. My wands have been pretty cooperative, I think. And anyway, this has just been a little study of another technique of trying to stay loose and transparent especially. I'm not really sure that I'm liking this, what I've done down here. that looking like a stem. I don't know if that worked very well. So I think I'm really about done here, and I hope you've enjoyed this little demonstration of using our magic wands to paint with and to get all of those magic tricks out of them that we can, the disappearing, the lifting, the making things come to life and giving things animation. There's just so much we can do as artists using our brushes and our paints in watercolor. Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. I had fun doing it. I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye. Their magic wands also had the ability to induce sleep, which is one quality that we hope our magic wands won't do for our viewers. We hope that we will have good paintings that will keep people enchanted with our work. Okay, that was really stupid.